Did you know that you have to pay for your Social Security disability insurance coverage and that your coverage can stop if you stop working? Do you know what a quarter of coverage is and how you earn those? Today's video is going to be a deep dive into those topics and why, if you are working, you should be paying your taxes and not taking cash under the table, and why, if you have stopped working and are disabled, you need to apply for benefits as soon as possible. Hello, friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jennifer Jarvis, and I am a disability attorney practicing in the state of Georgia, and I'm also the founder of Georgia Advocate Partners. On this channel, I have made it my mission to pull back the curtain and demystify what is going on at the Social Security Administration. My goal is to help you work your way through the process, to help you understand what is going on so that you can have the best chance possible of having your claim approved. As always, nothing here should be construed as legal advice. This is general information, and I highly encourage you to seek out your own attorney for your disability benefits. With that said, on to the video. So today's topic, buckle up a little bit, is going to be a deep dive into how you earn Social Security disability insurance coverage and how you earn a quarter of coverage and how the administration determines whether or not your coverage has expired. This, of course, is extremely important, especially if you have had kind of an in and out work experience. Maybe you work a couple of years and then you didn't work, or maybe you had years of low earnings, or maybe you became disabled and stayed at home and someone else took care of you, and it's been many, many years since you have been out into the workforce. So these are topics that you really need to understand in order to make some decisions that you need to make moving forward. So a quarter of coverage is a legal term, and sometimes you might also see the word credit being used. Do you have enough credits for Social Security disability insurance? But a quarter of coverage is a basic unit that is used to determine whether or not a worker has coverage under Social Security disability insurance. As you can imagine, since we're talking about quarters, there are 4 quarters in a year, and you can earn up to 4 quarters of coverage within a calendar year. The rule is for adults who are over the age of 31, in order to be fully insured with the Social Security Administration, you needed to have earned quarters in the last 20 of 40 quarters. In other words, we call it the 20/40 rule. That works out to you have to have worked for 5 of the last 10 years. The Social Security Administration does not actually care what quarter of the year you earned that money in. If we think we've got 12 months within a year, if we divide that out into 4 quarters, that's 3 months per quarter. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So those are our 4 quarters. If you can earn enough money to have all of your quarters of coverage within just the first quarter, the Social Security Administration doesn't care. What they're going to be looking at are your annual earnings and did you earn enough to get the 4 quarters? And that's the only piece that they're going to look at. So then the next question is, well, how do I know if I have earned, enough quarters of coverage? Well, it depends on how much they cost. And the amount of money that it costs to buy a quarter or earn a quarter is going to go up every year. And that's based on the National Average Wage Index. You don't need to worry about the index. There is a chart that you can log on to on the Social Security Administration's website that will give you the numbers, the cost of a quarter of coverage for each year. And I'm going to link to that chart below down in the description so you can take a look at that. For 2024, a quarter of coverage cost $1,730. In 2025, it cost $1,810. If you are watching this video in later years, I would just refer you back to that chart, which does get continually updated. So for 2024, let's say that you earn and you report earnings of at least $6,920, then you will have earned 4 quarters of coverage. So I'm going to pause here again. So $6,920 is all you needed to have earned in 2024 in order to get your 4 quarters of coverage. A lot of times when I talk to my clients and they are not earning a whole lot, they will say to me, well, I earned so little money, I didn't even bother filing because it didn't matter. I was under that threshold to file. But by not filing and reporting, you have just lost 4 quarters of coverage. And you may need that Social Security disability insurance in the future. If you don't file and it's just a zero, then you have no quarters of coverage for that year. And that becomes very important later when you're trying to file for disability benefits. I also hear from people, well, I don't really file my taxes because it's a lot of cash under the table. Well, number one, you're supposed to report all earnings to the IRS. And number two, if you're taking cash under the table and not reporting it and turning in big fat zeros every year, you are not earning quarters of coverage so that if you get hurt, you have disability insurance coverage. And I'm going to pause here and I'm going to really call out the construction and painting trades. Now, I know a lot of people take cash under the table, but in my experience, I tend to see that more in these particular vocations. And quite frankly, if this is you, you are working in a very dangerous occupation. If you fall off a roof and get hurt really badly, but never bothered to pay your taxes, you don't have disability insurance coverage. You have no coverage at all. The only option you have is something called SSI, which is really not a coverage that you want. The rules for SSI are very, very difficult and onerous. And if you're married and your spouse works, you probably won't qualify anyway. So some of the saddest conversations I have with people are people who get seriously hurt. They come in looking for disability coverage and they don't have any because they never paid in. There's nothing I can do about that. I can't help these people. And it's extremely sad and frustrating. So please, please, please pay your taxes because for the vast majority of people in this country, Social Security disability insurance is your only insurance. Most people do not have private long-term disability insurance policies. If you get hurt or you have some sort of condition that gets worse over time, you don't have any other options. This is it. And if you haven't paid in, you don't have this option either. So please pay into the system. Okay, I'm off my soapbox now. Let's get back to working and paying in and earning your quarters of coverage. So a common question I get, since we're going to be talking about dollars, is how much will I get paid by Social Security disability insurance? I've paid in, how much do I get out? And that answer really depends on how much you paid into the system. The more you pay in, the more you're going to get out. Now, how do they figure that out? It's a really complicated process and a complicated math process. There is a website, though, that Social Security has where you can log in and type in all of your earnings, and it will then tell you your approximate disability amount. I will link to that in the description below. That, of course, then leads to the next question is, well, how do I know how much my earnings were that I reported? You can create yourself a mysocialsecurity.gov account and log in, and it will show you the earnings that you have reported to the federal government through your lifetime. I will also give you a link to that below, and I highly suggest you create that account because it will let you go in and see, it'll let you look at your retirement benefits, your disability benefits, and it's just a good resource for you to be able to access. Okay. So the other tidbit here is if you do get hurt or your medical condition worsens and you have to go out of work, please file for Social Security disability benefits as soon as possible. Do not wait around hemming and hawing and deciding whether or not you are or not going to go back to work because your disability insurance benefits will expire. They have an expiration date. We have that 2040 rule. So I'm going to walk you through an example of a worker who had really pretty good earnings all the way through her life. This pretend person was injured in a car accident in 2024 and was unable to return to work and has some longer existing issues from that car accident that are going to prevent her from really being able to go back to work. So here are her earnings. And I went back through 2018. I pulled some fictional earnings for this person, 32,000, 35,000, 39,000. And then you can see there in 2024, earnings were much, much lower. We've only got 18,000 earnings in 2024, and then there's going to be a zero in 2025 moving forward because she's been seriously hurt and is not going to be able to go back to work. So what we do is we look at these earnings and then we refer back to our chart of how much does a quarter of coverage cost. And then it becomes a very simple math problem. So for example, in 2018, I take 32,156, I divide it by 1,320, and I certainly get more than four. I'm not going to do the whole math there, but definitely she has earned the full 4 quarters of coverage. And so if you work that out for all of those subsequent years, she's got fours all the way down, 4 quarters of coverage in each of those years. And then for 2024, she earned $18,152. divided by the 1730. And again, she's got 4 quarters for 2024, even though maybe the car accident was in April and she hasn't worked since April of 2024. She still earned enough in the first part of that year to get the full 4 quarters. So heading into 2024 and 2025, and maybe today she's in my office looking to apply for disability benefits, she's got her full coverage. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to satisfy what is called the 2040 rule. And what we're going to do is we're going to work our way backwards until we hit 20 quarters of coverage. So if I look at 2024, she's got 4 there. I go back to 23, that puts me at 8. I go back to 22, that puts me at 12, and then 16, and then 20. So working my way backwards, I hit my 20 quarters of coverage in 2020. So that's going to kind of be, I'm going to stick a line there. And now I'm looking for 40 quarters. So that's 10 years. So I then can work my way forward until I hit 40 quarters. And so when I do that, that's going to run me out until the end of 2029. So this particular woman who was injured in a car accident in 2024 will have disability insurance coverage through the end of 20. Why does that matter? Well, number one, we want to make sure that she gets her disability process going as soon as possible because we want to get that ball rolling. If you've watched any of my other videos or if you're stuck in the system, you know that this is a very lengthy process. If she has to do the full 3 years to get to a hearing in front of an administrative law judge, then that's going to put us into 2028. If she gets denied in 2028, we still have 2 years to potentially maybe file another claim and try to start over with maybe better medical evidence. If she got hurt in 2024 and kind of sat around and waited and I'm not sure and I'm not sure what I'm going to do and finally doesn't get around to filing until 2028, then if it takes 3 years to get to a hearing, that puts us at 2031. And at that point, if she gets denied, there are no disability benefits available for her. We can't start over unless she applies only for SSI. And like I said, supplemental security income, it's a difficult process in terms of the earnings and the asset limits that are available for SSI. And again, if you're married, you're probably not going to qualify for SSI. So it's really, really important to get that going as soon as possible. Also, if you have active insurance coverage, so she's come into my office in 2025 and we're putting her case together, I can send questionnaires out to her doctors and ask about her medical conditions and what do they think and how is her functioning. And all of that is relevant because she currently has insurance coverage. If I'm having to do that in the past and say, well, doctor, back in 2019, do you think she was disabled? That's a very, very difficult question to ask a doctor to opine about. So it's much better to do this while you have active insurance coverage. So if you get hurt or you go out of work and you really don't think you're going to be able to go back, please go ahead and apply for disability benefits because your insurance will expire. All right, so let's take a look at another example. So this is somebody who has very remote history of work. And, they've earned their 4 quarters of coverage in 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16, but then went out of work in 2016. Maybe this person had an autoimmune disorder that just gradually got worse. She goes to be a stay-at-home mom. Husband is supporting her, but then maybe things go sour and now he wants a divorce. Or I've also seen where women are at home and everything is fine, but now husband's earning less money. And so there's a question of, well, maybe we should have applied for disability benefits and then you can get Medicare coverage and so on and so forth since you can't work. So the problem in this particular case is this person, if they are sitting in my office in 2025, they don't have any insurance coverage. It expired actually back in 2021. So let's see how that's calculated. So remember, we've got our 2040 rule. I'm going to throw my net backwards and look for 20 quarters of coverage. And so when I look at this example and I go back, I have to go all the way back to 2012 to get 20 quarters of coverage. And so when I do that, and I'm going to bracket the 20 quarters, and then I'm going to bracket the 40 quarters, and what you'll see is that this person's insurance benefits expired at the end of 2021. So if this woman is sitting in my office in 2025, I can't use any current medical evidence for her. The only thing I can use is reaching back into the past and seeing what's available for this time period of 2017 through 2021, which is when she wasn't working, but then also still had the insurance coverage. Number one, and this is a number one tip here, is Social Security doesn't like this. This is really difficult to prove, and they're going to ask, why didn't you file for disability benefits back in 2017 and 2018? Also, if I ask your doctor today in 2025 about your functioning today in 2025, it doesn't matter because you don't have insurance coverage right now. I instead have to ask him, assuming you've even seen the same doctor, questions about how you were functioning in 2017 and 2018. And again, that's very difficult. The judges don't like it. It's just not a good thing to do. And unfortunately, in this particular situation, the only way to fix this is for this person to actually go back to work for 5 years, earn another 20 quarters of coverage, and then we can start looking at filing for disability benefits again. But this is one of the reasons I really want to emphasize to you why it is so important to make sure that if you go out of work and you're disabled and you're not able to return to work, that you file for disability benefits and you don't sit around and wait. Okay, one final example to show you that this can also get a bit complicated. This particular person has what I call a spotty work history. I went ahead and did earnings back to 2012, and you can see that this person works a couple of years, goes out of work a couple of years, some years very, very low earnings. And so I've gone through here and done the math. Importantly, with this particular situation, because this person had fairly low earnings, I want you to understand that when we do the math and we come up with partial quarters of coverage, so for example, in 2019, $3,720 in earnings divided by 1,360, that equals 2.7. I have to round that down. That person did not earn 3 quarters of coverage, they only earned 2. Even worse, in 2023, $4,880 divided by 1,640 equals 2.97. So this person was almost there at 3 quarters of coverage. Instead, it's only 2. So I've assigned numbers on quarters of coverage for all of these years, and I'm going to cast my net backwards and look for 20. When I do that, I go down to the middle of 2013. So remember, there are 4 quarters. In the middle of 2013 is when I hit 20 quarters. So I'm going to put a line there in mid 2013, and then I'm going to cast my net forward for 40 quarters. And when I do that, I'm going to land in the middle of 2023. So this person's disability insurance coverage expired in, remember, January, February, March, April, May, June. Mid-year is June 30th of 2023. So if this person again is sitting in my office in 2025 saying, I need to apply for disability benefits, this person does not have any active current coverage. Their coverage expired back in 2023. So again, this speaks to the importance of paying your taxes, making sure that you are earning enough to get your quarters of coverage, and that if you become disabled, that you apply as soon as possible. So I know that's a deep dive with math, but hopefully that helps clarify some things for you when it comes to whether or not you have Social Security disability insurance coverage. And your key takeaways from this are, again, pay your taxes. For many, many people, if you get hurt, this is your only option to have any sort of disability coverage. If you are disabled, file for your benefits. Do not wait. Your time is ticking. And number 3, understand that if you've been out of work for a long time, you will no longer have disability insurance benefits available to you. And the only way you can fix that is to go back to work. I do want to make it clear, though, that I am talking here only about disability insurance coverage. I am not talking about your Social Security retirement. If you have paid into your retirement will still be there. I'm specifically talking about the insurance coverage. So if you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps me to continue to make videos like this one, which are a deep dive to really help you understand what is going on in your case, especially if you are having some technical difficulties like, what do you mean I don't have coverage? I don't even know what this letter means when you get the denial in the mail that says you don't have quarters of coverage. Well, hopefully now you understand what they're talking about. If you have any topics that you would like covered, please feel free to reach out to me at my website, georgiaadvocatepartners.com. If you are in the Georgia area and would like to actually have me be your attorney, I'd be happy to take a look at that. Again, drop me a line on the Georgia Advocate Partner website. Again, thank you so much, and I will see you next time.